Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Shall we begin this morning by standing as we're able and singing together?
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to First Unitarian Church of Portland on this very hot summer morning. We're so glad you're here. I'm Jen Thomas, Director of Congregational Life, new title for me. So here we put love at the center of everything we do. We're especially grateful that you've joined us today and to spend time, whether you're here in the service or joining us online. This is a place where we hold each other up. We have each other's backs, and we work to take real steps towards a more just world. We're not perfect, but we're always growing and striving with love and including guiding us in every step we do. If you're joining us for the first time, a special welcome to you, and I invite you to join me in the Welcome Circle over here in the North Gallery. It's a good place to become a little bit better acquainted, and we can talk to you a little bit about what First Unitarian is all about. And today, after service, there is a social hour in Fuller Hall, which is downstairs, where you can grab a cup of coffee, meet more people, have a good chat. And everyone is invited to drop into the open house today after service for the 13th Street Shower Project. You can learn about that project and all the good work that we do for our neighbors here and find meaningful ways for you to contribute to this meaningful program. So how about finishing up your summer with a reading list how about finishing your summer reading list by reading the community read, Authentic Selves. We will gather to discuss this engaging book that celebrates the lives of trans and non-binary people after service on September 7th. Dr. Amy Ongiri and Alison Miller will lead the discussion, and there's still copies available in the bookstore, so you can grab one, and there's plenty of time to read. And it's just 2 weeks until we celebrate Homecoming Sunday on September 7th. That's good. We'll all be back together again and kick off the theme of weaving community. So we're looking forward to reconnecting with everyone. So it seems like a really good time for us to greet our neighbors. And if you're online, open up your chat and connect with your community out there. So let's take a few minutes and greet our neighbors. So, Reverend Allison will light our chalice this morning, and if you're watching from home, I invite you to light a candle at home. We are Unitarian Universalists. We light this chalice in faith, in hope, and in love.
The words to our call to worship are a short writing by Unitarian poet Robert Frost, titled "A Question." A voice said, "Look me in the stars and tell me truly, people of earth, if all the soul and body scars were not too much to pay for birth." You can ponder that question and give me your answer at coffee hour. invite you to rise in body or in spirit, and let us share in our responsive reading. We bid you welcome by Richard Gilbert. We bid you welcome who come with weary spirit seeking rest, who come with troubles that are too much with you, who come hurt and afraid. We bid you welcome who come with hope in your heart, who come with anticipation in your step, who come proud and joyous. We bid you welcome who are seekers of a new faith, who come to probe and explore, who come to learn. We bid you welcome who enter this hall as a homecoming, who have found here room for your spirit, who find in this people a family. Whoever you are, whatever you are, wherever you are on your journey, we bid you welcome. And let us join in our doxology.
This summer, we're sharing our offerings with Unitarian Universalist organizations that support our wider faith community. Today, our plate collection goes to Trans-Unitarian Universalist Professionals, or TRUST. TRUST supports 100+ transgender and non-binary religious professionals to care for themselves and others. If you'd like to give electronically, you can find the QR code on the screen or in a little yellow slip located in the seat racks. And for those of you online, you can just click Donate Now. And if you'd like to give in person, our fantastic ushers will be down the aisles to collect from you. We take time each week in our service to name the milestones of our lives and concerns of our congregation. A reminder that our lay ministers and our ministers are available for pastoral care. That care includes holding prayers of intentions of the congregation, and each week you could light a candle in each one of our side galleries. You could write your prayer intention and submit it there, or you could send that to prayer@firstunitarianportland.org. A couple concerns to share. Member Barbara Fields died unexpectedly on July 23rd at the age of 77. Barbara joined our church in 2020 and was on the nominating committee. We will miss her warm and caring personality. And member Alison Miller had successful surgery last week, and we hold Eileen as she continues her recovery. Join me in prayer. Spirit of life, on this warm and weary day when the air itself seems to ask us to slow down, we gather with hearts full of questions, questions that open doors, questions that may never be answered, but invite us to deeper wonder. May this heat remind us that even in discomfort, life pulses with vitality. May our questions remind us that we are seekers, not finished products. May the slow rhythm of the summer teach us patience with ourselves, with one another, and with mystery. Now let's ground ourselves for a few moments of silent meditation. Please remain seated as we sing together. We laugh, we cry. Our reading today comes from Letters from a Young Poet by Rainier Maria Rilke. In the great silence of these distances, I'm touched by your beautiful anxiety about life, even more than I was in Paris, where everything echoes and fades away differently because of the excessive noise that makes things tremble. Here, where I am, surrounded by an enormous landscape, which the winds move across as they come from the seas, here I feel that there is no one anywhere who can answer for you those questions and feelings which, in their depths, have a life of their own. For even the most articulate people are unable to help, since that words point to is so very delicate, is almost unsayable. So even so, I think you will not have to remain without a solution if you trust in things that are like the ones my eyes are now resting upon. If you trust in nature, in the small things that hardly anyone sees, and that you can so suddenly become huge and immeasurable. If you have this love for what is humble and try very simply as someone who serves to win the confidence of what seems poor, then everything will become easier for you, more coherent, and somehow more reconciling. Not in your conscious mind, perhaps, which stays behind, astonished, but in your innermost awareness, awakeness, and knowledge. You are so young, so much before all beginning, and I would like to beg you, dear sir, as well as I can, to have patience with everything unresolved in your heart and to try to love the questions themselves, as if they were locked rooms or books written in very foreign language. Don't search for answers which could not be given to you now because you would not be able to live them. And the point is to live everything. Live the questions now. Perhaps then, someday far in the future, you will gradually, even without noticing it, live your way into the answer. Perhaps you do carry within you the possibility of creating and forming as an especially blessed and pure way of living. Train yourself for that, but take whatever comes with great trust, and as long as it comes out of your will, out of some need of your innermost self, then take it upon yourself.
it is such a privilege to be able to sit in that seat because the music literally washes over you. And as you can often see, I can barely sit still sometimes. It is a place of rising in body and spirit, and I do not take it for granted that I get to sit right there and to hear all of you. So thank you. Okay, so I received about 20 questions, and in time to write maybe a couple of notes on 1 and 4, and to read them over again. And I even just got another one this morning, and Usher handed them to me. I want to thank Randy and Julia and Ruth for going through the questions and grouping some of them together, and also suggesting that they put them in order. So I'm going to try to do the first 12. Let's see. Okay, so think of this, for folks who are visiting or who haven't been to the question box sermon before, it's not really a sermon. It is a beginning. The sermon really is your questions, and they are so powerful, moving, and incredible. And today is a beginning to respond to those questions, and then collectively, even the ones I don't answer today, we will respond to them. I might write a column, or I might feel inspired to write a whole sermon, or we might start a new ministry together, or some of the questions might be a simple statistical response. And it wasn't fair to call Catherine on her, it's 6 o'clock this morning, and say, here's a question, can you give me a statistic before the service begins? So I promise I will get to all the questions, if not today, and I will get more fully to the questions I answer today as well. So 1 and 4 have some writings, and besides that, I love this dialogue, this conversation that we get to have with each other each year. So the first short question is, what do you think are the 3 most important things you and we should be doing together going forward? What do you think the impacts of these would be on the church? As Unitarian Universalists, what are the most helpful theological resources for these times? There's the first question. Which clearly will be fodder for, someone said a sermon, I say 2 sermons, but anyway. Okay, the first part of that question, what are 3 important things that I think that we should be doing together going forward? So one that really does come to mind, at least this morning, but really has come to my mind before, is that while it is true that the religious landscape is dramatically shifting, and while it is true that churches will wax and wane in numbers over time, what I can tell you is that there is something that we do together, the creation of a spiritually grounded and spiritually alive community, where when people come in, they can be accepted fully for who they are, they can be authentically themselves, and where we can gather to transform despair into hope and love into acts of liberation. This is eternally needed. If every single congregation, Buddhist, Hindu, Jewish, Christian, humanist, and obviously we draw wisdom from many of these strands, were to disappear, we would have to recreate something. What shifts is the form that these things may take over time. What stays the same is that core purpose of who we are to one another. And especially in this time, I think about how together we gather for the spiritual tools of resilience and resistance during a time of harm, the onslaught of harm to all of us and to some of us more so. And here we have a chance to co-create and touch beauty, to touch joy, and to actually try to create a better world, a more liberated, loving world. And maybe because this is the question box sermon, this is the place where we can wrestle with the big questions and how we lead a meaningful life, a life that matters. Okay, I'm doing a terrible job at going short. Okay, second, I'll be shorter, the rising generations and the unchurched of all ages. I think we need to focus. This is about that changing form. We're a large church, and everybody is not spiritually fed by exactly the same thing. So we need to explore a multiplicity of avenues in terms of how people connect with the sacred and the spirit, how people's spirits are galvanized to make a difference in their lives and in the world beyond. And here's an example. Music is the medicine for the soul. But for some of you, I'm going to only ask what you like, but not what you don't like. Who is really touched by organ? I'm touched by organ. Who is really touched by harp? I am. Who is really touched by jazz? Who is really touched by drums in the sanctuary? Oh, wow, this is good, actually. Who is really touched by electric guitar? I mean, I'm just going through an example of different things because the truth is, who listens to electric guitar every morning when they wake up? Good. Yeah. I was trying to get at that. I mean, so music is medicine for the soul. And the type of music is one of the windows through which the light shines. And so we have room for many windows in this church. And that's just one example of form versus core purpose. Music is part of our core purpose. The form will change maybe each week and certainly over time. The third thing I'm going to mention is navigating conflict in healthy ways. And this is foreshadowing a later question. I was not here, but I did hear that adding the screens nearly split the church and that a number of people left. And I'm seeing some laughing and nodding. And there are also some folks that are maybe not in the room. And so what I know to be true is that years ago, I was attending workshops that, screens are so normative in certainly my son's life that it would be unfathomable to walk into a space that didn't have a screen. It would feel like a foreign land. And so what was shared with ministers was that if we didn't start to have screens, we would just not be connecting with the rising generations. Then there's the other point of view that some people may have felt, that it affected the peace of the sanctuary, and people wanted no technology here and to have a different kind of space. Remember what I said about different forms. We can have both. Spaces without technology and spaces with technology in this many-roomed house of worship. But to get back to the main point, change naturally engenders conflict. And who knows what happens what's the only state of being that involves no change? Death, you said it. Death, you said it. So part of navigating conflict in healthy ways is working together to actually nourish this community of change over time. And we can do that. And every congregation struggles with change and with conflict, and every congregation has the power to be able to learn how to engage conflict as a teacher, how to experiment and learn from our experiments, and how to continue to grow. So theological resources, and what do I think the impacts of these things would be if we focused on our core purpose, if we focused on how to involve, engage, include, as we are doing, people from the rising generations and the unchurched, and if we did it even more so, and if we learned how to navigate conflict in healthy ways, we would grow in two ways. One, most importantly, we would grow in our spirits, in our souls, in our justice making, and two, we would probably also continue to attract new members and be a place of continuing renewal and growth in numbers as well. So helpful theologians, theological resources for these times. The person that comes first to my mind, is James Luther Adams, who I actually mentioned this spring in a sermon because I thought to myself, did I even ever talk about him recently? But how many people even know who James Luther Adams is? Not a lot. That's what I thought. We have a sermon about James Luther Adams. He was one of the most well-known Unitarian Universalist theologians of the 20th century, and he graduated divinity school in 1927 and went to Europe and was deeply impacted by the Second World War and the Holocaust. And in some ways, James Luther Adams is the bridge from liberal theology, which we are, and liberation theology, which we also are. And one way, and you'll hopefully remember this, what he said is, I do not believe in the immaculate conception of virtue. And what that means is that we don't just speak about love. What do we say at the end of every service? We have to learn how to practice love. And he also spoke about how sometimes our sunny, optimistic understanding of human nature does not have us adequately wrestle with evil. If human beings have the possibility and even will incline towards the good, then how do we explain what's happening in the world? And so his theology wrestles with the concept of evil and how it is that we turn love into liberation in a time like this. Another person I would mention is Bell Hooks, who speaks about love as well. We talk so much about love here, that putting love at the center gives you the strength to counter domination and oppression in the world. I'll mention Anthony Pinn, who I did do a service about liberation theology without God. And a lot of us are holding in our hearts Joanna Macy this week. There was a service celebration of life for her. She's a Buddhist teacher that really helps people face fear and grief, to ground in gratitude, and to actually activate hope in our lives and the world. And one more I'll mention is Aurora Levins Morales, who is a Jewish Puerto Rican poet. The poets are also the theologians we need right now. They have a way of naming succinctly the pain we're going through, capturing it in word, and then also helping us to imagine a new world that we could be a part of. So, shorter, yes. So what do I envision as the future of this church and congregation, and how does this congregation plan for the future? So my short answer for this one is that we are about to embark on a process to answer these questions together. And this fall is going to be a kind of self-study, understanding of the story of how we got here in the recent past and who we are today. And by we, I mean First Unitarian Portland. I mean we as Unitarian Universalists. I mean we as people connected to Portland and Oregon. And who are the we's that we live among? And that's so important. That is so, so important. We need to understand who lives here, for example, to understand who it is that we might serve, who we might serve in this city of ours. And an example of answering that question when I first arrived, on everyone's heart was, how are we in relationship with the houseless residents on our block, in our neighborhood, and in our city? And one answer to that was the shower project. And that's really an experiment that continues to unfold. And you did hear, I think, that there's a tour of the shower project today following the service. So we're going to understand who we are. Then in the winter and spring, we're going to actually get back to that core understanding of our mission. The last time we did mission work was over 30 years ago. So we're going to, what is our mission from the vantage point of 2025 instead of the early 1990s? And my guess is some things will stay the same. Here's a question. How many people know the mission statement? Folks online, I have faith that maybe there's some hands up there, because it's looking like a question, not an answer in here. So, and then next fall we'll be creating our 5-year vision and plan, which will fall out from that. And the reason it needs to come from the we is I'll go back to James Luther Adams. Yes, there's a role for the individual in countering oppression, but voluntary associations like this, that is how we can do big things, life-changing things together. So we need to answer those questions together. Question number 3, are you open to changes in the congregational worship experience? For example, changing up the doxology, maybe using several, trying more and different art on the pulpit, a colorful quilt from the Quilts of Love group, more frequent changes with the seasons and events, liturgical colors, banners, other. And now I'm at the point of no notes already, but I did write yes, exclamation point, altar guild, question mark. So yes, I am totally open to changes in the congregational worship service, and we balance tradition and innovation here. And there can be more than one space and place where worship happens. So yes, I would love to work with congregants, and also, of course, I already have the worship team on the staff, to imagine and reimagine some of the ways that we do things. When we're sharing a service inspired by Buddhism, maybe we push the pulpit away and I bring my sitting cushion and we meditate together, and perhaps the service is delivered in a different way. When I first put art connecting with the theme in the room, people looked kind of askance, like, what? You're going to put something in the front? And some of you may remember that big paper mache tree that was here for a while. And now people look forward to the art, but it doesn't have to be one piece. In the sanctuary where I was before, we actually had a service about water, and we wound up depicting water all around the sanctuary and decided to leave it there for an entire season because of our work on climate justice. So I would be very excited to imagine different possibilities. And definitely, I hear the offering from the Quilts of Love group. I don't know if someone from the Quilts of Love group wrote this, but I could definitely imagine our sanctuary being adorned by the handiwork of our congregants. And then one thing I'll name is we would have some sort of process to decide what we would be putting in if it was there for a longer period of time than a Sunday. And this question really excites me, the possibilities that we might co-create here in this space together. Okay, 4. This is the one where I did actually write an answer. And I want to express my thanks to our music ministry transition team, Theo Harper, our chair, Amina Amdal Mason, Michael Murray, Rich Schur, and Holly Stern, who've been meeting with me throughout the summer. And Tom has also even come. He's recovering from his hip surgery, but he has even come to a couple of the meetings. They shared, they thought someone might ask the following question. So thank you to them, and we have an answer. Here's the question. I really enjoy Garrett Bond's leadership and the music program during the last year. Can you give us an update on the plan for the music program this fall? And here's the answer. We all feel blessed to be working with Garrett, and by the we, I mean the music ministry transition team, me, all the staff, the worship team in particular, and can I include you in the we? Yes. As Garrett shared in the spring, he has also enjoyed working here. And I just want to name that Garrett and I spoke, and he said, you know, he didn't really want to speak today because he's both hopeful and emotional. So about this, you'll see why in a minute. Who thinks Garrett is talented? This is our vote of confidence in your future. And Garrett has shared that after discernment, he is feeling called to work on the stage with professional ensembles, which is bittersweet, right? I want you to know I support Garrett 100% in his professional goals, and I don't want to hold you back from that dream because I believe in it too, for you. With all that I've witnessed, I do have every confidence that he will have many options in that space. But I'm sad, though, because it means that he won't be continuing past the position of interim. And my guess is many of you will feel this is bittersweet. And I know that you also support him in his dreams. And the music transition team has received this news, and we are ready to enter search for the next music director this coming winter and spring. And we are also readying ourselves to explore who we would want to work with should some offer come Garrett's way before the end of the program year in June, even if it were very soon. So this is a time to savor getting to have Garrett at the helm of our music program for as many Sundays as it lasts. You have been a gift. You have just been such a gift to us, so thank you. And he's been here 2 years, don't forget, the fantastic pianist, and this whole last year, and for however many more moons he's here. 5, how did attending a women's college impact your life and your ministry? Oh no, okay. The short version is this. The one answer of many is this. I actually, my preschool at the Unitarian Church of All Souls was co-ed, and my divinity school, Harvard Divinity School, was co-ed, and every year of schooling in between was at a girls' school or a women's college. So this is a really good question. And one of the answers would be this, that being in the embrace, what I can share with you is that in the schooling spaces that I was privileged to be a part of, the notion of gender as a box was always exploding. And so it doesn't surprise me that it was at Bryn Mawr, where this is like 30 years ago, that I met the first person to openly identify as trans in the context of that community. And while it's true that we have a much more gender expansive notion today and our exploding boxes, biases still affect people. And so one blessing in a girls' school and a women's college was that certain community leadership roles sometimes will more often go to a particular gender. Well, what I can share with you is that a community of all women or a community of all girls still replicated all of those roles because they're needed. And so it just felt like being in a space with fewer limitations. And I did not live in a girls' school my whole life. I lived in a more gender expansive space. So I brought that feeling into the world, and I'm constantly wanting to learn how to do that more and have a real commitment to gender equity because of the grounding in those spaces. Self-conscious grounding that people, that gender expression and experience makes a difference, and that there are no boxes, or limitations for what people can do because of how they identify in terms of their gender. So that's part of the answer. My elevator speech about Unitarian Universalism to someone who doesn't know. I'm going to do the shortest one I can. We all come from one source, and we all have a shared destiny. We need to protect the sources of all life, and we need to work for the betterment of all people. And ultimately, that's what Unitarian Universalism is about. That was like floor 3-1. How can our mostly white church best affirm and promote the eighth principle? Is that mostly up to us as individuals to play our part, or can the church as a body do meaningful action? So a couple of things. Number one, yes, it's absolutely important for us as individuals to wrestle with the questions of how we build the beloved community by dismantling racism and other oppressions. And absolutely the work is collective. As James Luther Adams said, we need to galvanize the energy and the possibilities that lie in community to actually tackle some of these systemic problems of evil in the world. And the other thing I would say here, and I want to unpack it in a longer format, is that one thing I've noticed, which is so transformative, I don't want to diminish this, many of you have testified to the fact that anti-racism learning circles and book readings have been transformative. How many people is that true for? That is very important. And I want to also ask how many people here in this room consider themselves a reader and have a number of books at home on the shelves? I want to challenge us to go beyond reading for those who need that challenge, and to really for us to think about how we engage more full-bodied, and specifically to be led by the people of color in our congregation, the people who hold other marginalized identities in our congregation, and in the city we live in and in the spaces that we move, in order to chart a more comprehensive course. And absolutely, how we fulfill the eighth principle is already a part of how we plan on the staff team and amongst the laity, and even more so will be a part of our strategic plan. And a shout out to the transformation team that's doing work, and the board liberation team that is doing work as well. Okay, I have to stop, but let's see. Let me at least answer this one. how are we connected with other UU churches in our area, ecumenically with other places of worship in Portland and the Northwest? How are we connected with other downtown churches, with PSU, and what are your aspirational goals in these areas? So a couple of things that I would want to share is that the Unitarian Universalist congregations in the area had stopped. The ministers had not been meeting when I first arrived. We started meeting again last year, and fruit is already beginning to be born of those relationships. The downtown churches were also not meeting, and they also started meeting last year. And so again, fruit is being born of these relationships. And it feels like the area is really reopening. And one of the biggest signs of that, many clergy, myself and others, were recently part of a training by Together Lab to be able to show up at the courthouse and at the ICE building here in order to be chaplains to the lawyers and the activists, and to be a presence and chaplains to the immigrants showing up for their meetings, because indeed ICE officials are harassing them. And already clergy's presence is making a difference. And a second thing I'll mention is there's a newly forming civic leaders group, including community leaders and faith leaders, that I was just invited to be a part of. And I said yes to that, and I'll be finding out more. And there's longer answers, but this is really important to me, that I and we are not just a silo here in Portland, but rather that we're collaborating with others to make an even more powerful difference. And I'll end it there for the sake of time. And I will use all of these for columns and sermons, and actually to help inform some of our strategic planning process this year. So thank you. Thank you for these questions. And if you would just give me the liberty of answering one more, because it looks to me pastorally like the most important. How do we support people in our own congregation who are going through hard times? And by the way, this is a 10-question sermon, so I'm just doing the first one. We need to continue to create small groups where people can be known more fully, so that when something happens, members can show up for one another. 755 members can't know each other, but intimacy and being known can happen in small groups and through groups like shared ministry groups like our lay ministers. So that's part of that answer. And the other part is, if you're going through a hard time, reach out to the ministers or the lay ministers so that we can connect you with support. The end for today, or pause, to be continued. And now in our going, may love shine down upon us. May it be gracious unto us, and may it radiate out from within us. May love bless us with the right questions to make meaning of our lives and to move in ways where we leave a lasting legacy of truth, hope, and love. For this is the day that you and I are given, so let us rejoice in it and be glad. Go in peace, practice love. Amen.